Welcome to Creative Lines and Techniques. This track gave me massive Red Bull Straight Rhythm vibes. You know why? Because the sections were incredibly long and there really weren't that many corners. Therefore, riders really had to ride aggressive to try to stay low and maybe not preload as much. It was fun to watch. However, the passing, it was hard. Let's dive into some of these lines. My favorite part really was Ken Roczen's start. He didn't get the best of jump. However, he was incredibly smart to slow down around the first corner. Let's watch him in the heat race. He is this guy right here. You can see he really doesn't have the jump. As you can see, other riders start to pull ahead of him and cut him off. But he ends up braking early and ends up sneaking up the inside with this little drift section with putting his foot down. He did it both in the main event and also the heat race. While other riders went in super hot and they drifted wide, Kenny just rolls up the inside and is able to steal the deal. Even though wherever, they're probably gotten the whole shot line right here. I don't know if they actually gave it to him. In my book, he gets the whole shot. Just amazing technique. Let's watch the main event. We see him. He's relatively a little bit further to the inside, so he's going for a straight shot. Therefore, he's going to have to brake earlier as opposed to somebody on the outside, which is able to potentially go in a little bit hotter. But watch. He brakes earlier. There he is. Is he going to dab that foot again? Dab that foot again. Same exact thing. Maybe it was on purpose to get that bike to spin around and pivot while the other riders are having to drift wide. Kenny dabs the foot and sneaks up the inside. The whoop sections were arguably one of the most gnarly spots on the track because as the race went on, it ended up being giant curbs and you saw a lot of riders starting to double through them. This is important to look at and notice. Tom Viall is ahead of Hunter Lawrence, and watch his technique as he enters the whoops. He's using the starter whoop to hit the second whoop to get him on top of him, which is a perfect technique. He ends up going on top of the whoops. He looks fast, looks clean. It is well executed. But behind him, watch Hunter Lawrence. He is looking through the whoops, looking at whoops 3, 4, and 5 before he even hits the first one. And watch how that makes a difference. He ends up wheeling over the second whoop. You can see it. Boom, rear end hits it. Bike just levels out completely at a 180 degrees, and he's able to carry 5 miles an hour faster through the whoops. Even though Tom Viall is staying on top of him, Hunter is making him look silly. And I don't say that lightly because Tom was going through them like a professional. And in the main event, we can see Ken Roczen using the same line as Hunter and Tom, as opposed to using that starter whoop to get on top of them, going slow enough to make sure that he can start jumping through them. And he goes triple, 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 double to hit that inside. That, to me, was really smooth. A lot of riders ended up just going double, double, double through them because, again, they were curb stompers. After the finish line, there was another big double to a 90-degree corner, which are always hard because they end up being one line. However, this next section was a tabletop over, which ends up being really not ever noteworthy because it's so sharp and you will never see a rider pass on them. But Atlanta was an exception because of the amount of inertia that they were running towards this. They ended up making a rut that was off kiltered at a different angle. And when those riders hit that rut, it would kick their ass end back and it would float them to the other side. And the riders had to use their technique and body language to let that motorcycle float underneath them. Watch Barsha. Ass end gets kicked sideways, and he's just doing a reverse whip over. It was really pretty to watch, and I honestly liked the one-line section just because I got to watch riders hit the curb, get bounced up, and then just float the motorcycle naturally using their talent, and it was just fun to watch. I actually really enjoyed it. After the tabletop, I would have expected a lot of riders going to the inside to cut other guys off, but because of the speed they were doing, nobody wanted to move it in here and get hit at doing 90. So you never really saw riders make passes here, which was unfortunate, which just made the track a little bit more one line and less passing points. But I digress. This was the only quad on the section. We see Thrasher up front and Smith behind as they go double, triple. Watch them sit down to try to preload as much as they can to get that motorcycle off. Watch them sit down, move their ass end back on the seat so they're compressing that rear end as far as it can go. And this is just important because this 250 class has come so far over the last 10 years. You would never see riders jumping quads like this. The typical only time you would see riders do this was the 450 class and riders like James Stewart, Ricky Carmichael, Dungey, Villapoto, Reed. Those were really the only guys you saw do this. But now there's so much. Half the field of the 250s would do it. Is it because horsepower has gotten better, bikes have gotten better, or technique and bike skills have gotten better? I think it's all the above. The second sand section across the start, watch Jason Anderson in front of Barsha. He's going to try to find lift off of this rut, where you can see there's more of a lip on the left, or pretty much only the inside has got the largest lip there. But Jason Anderson tries to go through that middle rut and get as much lift as he possibly can, but it's just been worn down. And therefore, watch the motorcycle start to endo on him and look at the factory suspension save his ass. Boom. Crazy bike skills and also equipment. It's important to note that he made adjustments the next lap. If we watch him the next lap, he uses the same line, but he ends up just doubling because he's going, man, that was a hairy moment. I don't want to have that happen again. However, watch Chase Sexton, the third rider in view, as he uses that lower rut line that has no lip. And look at his body positioning. He's just way back on the bike where that front wheel is light to where it's not going to try to endo on him. And he makes it work. And he goes triple. Interesting. Speaking of mixing things up, head over to puremoto.com and search over 1.3 million items in stock and over 200 local retailers. If you go to the bike shop and they've got stuff on back order, well, go to the parts finder and put in the SKU number. It'll find the part that is in stock closest to you, and from there you can call the shop and tell them to ship it to you, or if it's close enough, hold it so you can drive there and have it same day pickup. Make sure you shop at puremoto.com. And just because I'm on the topic of stiff suspension, this little roller before they went back across the start, look at the air that they're getting and how they're scrubbing as they're going underneath the tunnel. Just watching these bikes, it didn't look like it felt too good at all. You saw their front ends, their front fenders just rattle with the amount of G-forces that it was sustaining. Watch these riders. Bam, 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 bam. I'm just making a note there that the bikes are set up so stiff so that you could have something like what happened to Jason Anderson and survive it. So these Flatlanders, they probably don't feel that well. They probably feel like a mountain bike, not even a mountain bike, but a BMX bike landing hard. That is all I have for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, help me out. Hit the subscribe button. A lot of you are considering doing so. And on your way out, make a comment. This is Johnny Hopper. Till next time, keep it WFO. Ba-ra-da-da-da-da-da.